let's talk about a candidate you have talked about, Herschel Walker, the leading GOP candidate in the vital Senate race in Georgia. You endorsed him, yet his ex-wife says he pointed a pistol at her head and said, "I'm going to blow your effing brains out." And an ex-girlfriend has accused him of threatening her life. Why is he a suitable candidate?
Herschel Walker has addressed that issue repeatedly over the last 10 years. I think
It's a heck of an issue.
Well, he admitted he had some troubles in his life. He's been an exemplary citizen in recent years. He's a hero in Georgia. Almost every candidate's had troubled periods.
I mean, I don't know that almost every candidate has pointed.
Look, I don't want to argue with it. I think Walker is completely electable. He's actually ahead at the beginning of this race, and we're fully behind him.
How did you, absorbing those very troubling allegations, talk me through your process for coming to the conclusion that you could put your name, Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, well, I did that, and I've endorsed him.
But how?
How?
Yeah, because one of your top operatives on the outside, Josh Holmes, when the first story came out with all this, he said, "Oh, I've never seen, this is terrible." How did you go from, I mean, I assume you had a similar, maybe you didn't, maybe you thought it was fine, but I doubt you did. How did you come from that to supporting him?
The way I always do, a variety of different considerations. Every candidate has flaws and assets. This candidate has a lot of assets and is very competitive and has a great chance of.
Dude, Jonathan Swan is the best.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
That Mitch McConnell reaction is definitely the reaction of a guy who does not get pushback in any interview he does ever.
Dude, but how?
Yeah.
How did you come to that conclusion? How? This is the guy. What? Huh? That pregnant pause. Yeah, that huge pregnant pause. Like, oof. No one's ever asked me that. Like, yeah, dude.
as usual, when Jonathan Swan interviews a notable politician, it is worth going out of your way to seek out some of the interview. He talks about Eric Greitens in the interview as well.
Oh, boy.
He talks about Clarence Thomas and with Mitch McConnell and things of that nature. It just kind of lays McConnell out for who McConnell is. But it's just interesting watching him not just get softballed, because it seems like that's pretty much all we see from Mitch McConnell, which begs the question why he would agree to do an onstage, like interview.
Yeah, and live in front of a studio and live in front of an audience. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, like with a notably tough interviewer, in Jonathan Swan. I just love how understated, McConnell's like, he's had some issues, and Swan's like, it's a heck of an issue. Like, he literally threatened to kill his ex-wife. I was like, but and then somehow that gets baked around to like, oh, every candidate has some flaws, Jay.
Yeah. They're all holding a gun up to their ex-wife's head and saying, "I'll blow your fucking brains out."
Some of them smoked weed. Some of them threatened attempted murder. But there's some flaws, on all across the board.
6.5, 6.5.
Some of them used to be a Democrat, if you can believe it. The biggest sin of them all.
That was hilarious. That's a pretty big flaw. Like, what the fuck, man? Jesus, 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. Attempted murder, fucking smoking weed. Like, wow, just wow. Yeah, I need to watch that entire interview. That's
pretty
amazing.
Good.
That's a pretty good cold open. I liked it. So yeah, let's dig right in. We got plenty to talk about this week.
This week's theme is like 2 weeks ago, the theme was a bit of anger. Last week it was stupidity, and I think this week's theme is frustration. I think that's the through line through.
Yeah, that feels right. Stories. Yeah, that feels right. Like what are we doing? Just what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
So straight up, first story. This title, I think they use a word that they're trying desperately to understand what's happening themselves. This is from the Miami Herald, which is a very good paper, by the way.
I don't think the word they use is strong enough.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like they're trying to like wrap their head around what's happening, but they don't want to write "what the fuck" as the headline.
I was about to say, I feel like that the word "unusual" in this headline is actually doing the lifting of batshit crazy.
Right, exactly. Just like, dude, you can just write "what the fuck." It's fine. Like, if the title of this article was "Whiskey Tango Foxtrot," that would be fine. Like, I'd be like, that makes sense. Legislature. Florida legislature makes unusual move. Says Ron DeSantis will map the Florida congressional districts. So here's a better way of saying that. The Florida legislature said, "Hey, Ron DeSantis, why don't you get to choose your voters?" That's all. That's what you basically
choose our voters.
Yeah, and our voters, right?
Yeah, like choose the voters for the congressional representatives that go to Congress.
Yeah, which is nuts, right? So
and again, it's all because the map that was drawn by Republicans
isn't
racist enough.
Right, exactly. Well,
there's still more racism to be found.
Well, look, you gotta get to all that schism, like at the bottom of the pot. You gotta
get the maximum amount of racism that we can. Squeeze it like a Florida orange out of this congressional map.
Right. It's like, like when you ever like if you actually follow recipes or whatever, they ask you to like deglaze the pan. You gotta scrape those brown bits. Like, that's what Ron DeSantis is trying to do. He's trying to scrape all the brown bits out of Florida as much as he can. So. Yeah, this did start with Ron DeSantis basically saying basically like, look, this isn't racist enough. I need a little bit more of that schism. But what it really comes down to is he's trying to get rid of 2 districts that have black representatives, including Val Deming's district, incidentally, who is running for Senate for Florida. How convenient, right? Well, so in case she loses, he'd like to just throw her out of politics altogether.
Well, I mean, if she loses, she's not going to be. She wouldn't have that seat anyway. Like, he's just making sure that whoever replaces her is not going to be.
Well, that's true. That's right.
It's not going to be like her. I find this is an interesting corollary because one of the things that we pointed out when Trump was in power is that the Republicans had basically done what the founders and pretty much the previous 220 years of American political history would have found unthinkable. Right. And the people in Congress, Republicans in Congress, basically deferred their power, their Article 1 power, to the president. And basically like deferred everything to them, when most other Congresses, whether the president was a member of their party or not, prided themselves in holding the executive branch in check. Right. The whole, separation of powers being kind of the bedrock of American democracy.
That whole
thing. Yeah.
so overdone. So
overdone. And so Florida Republicans are basically doing the same thing with, Trump 2.0, essentially. A guy whose face, I have to tell you, I am sick and tired of fucking seeing at this point.
It's pretty punchable. Like,
yeah.
As the crow flies, I hate him. Like, I've hated him last week. I've hated him weeks before, months before, and I hate his face every day that I have to see it. Like, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Giving up power, legislatures giving up power to the executive branch is one of the weirdest Republican phenomenons I have ever seen in politics. Like, DeSantis pulls a move by like, look, this isn't working for me. I don't like it. I'm rejecting it. One, why the governor gets to reject the map is weird. Like, that's a very weird rule.
Every state's fucking different. And
no, I get that.
They should all be given independent commissions, but
right. Like, it's like governors are a part of a political party. Why would they not abuse this?
Right.
Like, it makes no sense to try, and that's and it doesn't matter.
Jay, that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Well, the legislature is like, I feel like why are we beating around the bush? Why don't we just get to the show and just give this guy the fucking power that he wants? So they're basically like, look, why don't your office draw the map? You send it back to us. We'll see if we're cool with it. Wink, wink. We definitely will be. And then we'll get away from all this like back and forth bullshit, right? Why is he even involved? Why is the governor even involved? It is unbelievably reckless to have a rule like that. This all nationwide, right? And obviously it has to be done state by state, but nationwide, this should be independent commissions who come in and do this shit. Like,
yeah,
just period. It should, and as independent as you can get it, right? This should basically be done by computers. It should not be done by any human being with any sort of political interest.
Well, and what's funny, and because we're making the Trump corollary, and we can make it now. The reason that Florida Republicans are doing this is because they're afraid of him, because they're afraid of him campaigning against them for a primary challenge on the right, because somehow Ron DeSantis now like has the fucking juice in Florida politics, which is insane to me that's true. Because again, this guy was a fucking lame-o from Jump Street.
Yeah, he was.
Like, he was the worst.
I guess for me, it reinforces the Republican ideal that I've long stated on a national level, which is Republicans want a daddy. And actually, that's actually true for their voters too. As much as they call Democrats the nanny state or whatever, the one thing they love to do is like put on a hat that says like, I love my dad, or MAGA, or whatever fucking bullshit, right? They love that stuff. And Ron DeSantis is just another version of this sort of fake tough dad persona that they just cannot help but to cower to the second they get it, the second they get the opportunity. And it's not because he's strong. It's not because he's strong. It's just because he's in this particular position.
And that's the thing. Like, Trump, at least, say what you will, at least had the fame, the persona.
He actually had the juice. Like, he had the juice. Like, he's a charismatic guy. He's an idiot, but one thing you can't take away from him is he has charisma. Right? Like, I don't buy it because I'm not impressed by a moron, but Republicans clearly are. This being yet another example of that. Yeah. But he did have charisma. Like, he just did. Reagan had charisma. Like, he did. Doesn't make him good at the job, though. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious as to how this is going to go down. I mean, I have my guesses, which is Ron DeSantis will draw a bullshit map. He will eliminate the 2 districts that he wants to that are heavily black districts, thus throwing them probably into one district so that he can just, pump all the black votes as much into one district as he can to eliminate their power. That's my guess. That's what will happen.
And again, like, Republicans don't have to capitulate here. Like, they passed a map in a pretty unified fashion that they thought was good. And if they wanted to, like, he vetoed it, but they could easily just override it. Like, that's kind of the whole deal. And if you fight collectively as a unit, what the fuck is he going to do? Campaign against all of you? Doubtful. Like, it's like, I don't think he's going to go fucking on a rampage against the entire sitting Republican Florida legislature.
No, he.
So the fact that they capitulated to him when they don't need to is the part that's embarrassing, unless many of them are trying to curry favor for a hypothetical, like, presidential bid at some point.
There you go. No, I think that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And that to me feels pretty pathetic. But I mean, look, these guys are craven, right? Like, they are just dying to be in his pocket. Like, they want to be in his pocket so bad because they want to go on that ride with him. Look, Ron DeSantis is a lot of things, all of them negative. But like, if he made it to the national stage and he was the Republican nominee, he's got a chance to win because Republicans will just vote for any Republican who is presented to them. They don't really push back on that. But I think he's so reprehensible that he opened up Pandora's box on one issue and one issue only that will get Democrats fucking fired up. It's gay rights. It will get Democrats fired up because, like, we won that. Like, we won that fight on gay marriage. We won that fight. We fought tooth and nail and we won it. People are not going to go back on that shit. They're not. Like, it's not one of those. And I say that even in the sort of the twilight of watching Roe versus Wade likely dying. This is a thing this generation won, right? It's very easy to forget the power and the strength of legislation or Supreme Court decisions when it happened 30 or 50 years ago, right? Like, it's very easy to forget about that. But this happened very recently. Like, this is our generation's win. They're not going to settle for that. Like, Ron DeSantis gets the nomination, people are going to be like, nah, fuck that guy. You'll see the same fervor that you saw against Trump in 2020. They don't want that guy.
We may not settle for it, but we might not have a choice in the matter, in all honesty. So that's the worrying part. Is that
I'm just saying, like, they'll fight. I'm saying they'll fight like hell against it. Like, you won't see people just being like, what's the difference? Like, no, not with him. No, I don't think so.
But that's my big fear is that this, and actually we'll talk about it later because it's going to come up later. But the Republicans are using Roe. They're going to use Roe for more than just Roe if they get their way with it.
Oh, yeah, it's setting a precedent. Of course.
Yep.
No, look, the party is never over, man. Get the fuck out of here. This next story, I want to touch on just a little bit. It's fascinating. The Guardian has a story about how in Ohio, some Republicans are calling for Ohio Supreme Court Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor to be impeached because she is refusing to let them distort electoral districts to their advantage. But she's actually a Republican judge. Like, she's a conservative judge. But because she doesn't think it's cool to just draw the maps completely in your favor in Ohio, they're like, this woman needs to be impeached. She's the worst judge ever. Since January, Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor has served as a decisive vote on the 3 separate occasions blocking Ohio Republicans from enacting proposed state legislative maps. She also sided with the Democrats to block an initial GOP proposal for congressional districts before going into effect in January. Those decisions have prompted chatter among Republicans about impeaching O'Connor, who is 70, who will leave the court after nearly 2 decades at the end of the year because she has reached the mandatory retirement age of judges in Ohio. They can't even wait until January. That's how bad they want her the fuck out of there.
I'm sorry. I just heard the phrase mandatory retirement age.
I know.
I know. Now. So it's fantastic.
I know. I can't get more erect.
Yeah.
No, that's like, that needs to be a thing. I mean, I'm even okay with letting it be past 70. 75.
No, 70's good.
You're good with 70?
I'm fine with 70. I think it's a great age.
65 is
you still get 15 to 20 years to fucking live out your twilight years.
Yeah. Go retirement. 65 is good for me. Like,
I mean, look, yes, also, but let's be realistic here. You know what? Let's institute that for the Supreme Court tomorrow. 70 being the retirement age. Let's do it.
Oof, you clear a lot, dude. That's like
two in particular. In particular.
Yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Elaine Keegan, like, they're fine. Sonia Sotomayor, I think is fine.
In her 60s.
So.
She's in her 60s.
She's in her 60s.
Still got a few years.
Sam Alito, you're done, son. Like,
and Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas. It's a wrap for you today. Like, let's go. We're done here. So yeah, I love it. I am more than okay with it.
But yeah, this is some petty bullshit, though.
Yeah, of course it is.
This is petty bullshit.
Now, keep in mind, if you did retirement age at 70, Republicans would just start putting 30-year-olds on the.
It's true. That's true. Oh, you just graduated law school? SCOTUS justice. There you go.
Like,
just make sure you vote for us.
Yeah, like, so. All right. You're 25.
No, but I'm saying them trying to impeach this judge is petty as fuck, though. Just because she's not letting them jam through fucking gross, obviously gerrymandered maps.
Right, and that's the only reason why I put the story on there. Like, again, she's leaving in January. It's not like, oh, well, she's bad at her job. She's a general. It's just because she won't side with them on redistricting so that they can fuck Ohio and get total control of the legislature without any level of opposition. Republicans have gone into hyperspeed when it comes to fascist sort of behavior. Like they're not even hiding it anymore. Like back in the day, Republicans would have been like, all right, let's like, are there a way, like maybe we could dig up a scandal about this judge, right? Like let's come up with something. Now they're just like, no, let's just impeach her. Let's just be done with it. We're done. Like what's the reason? Well, she's objection. This is devastating to my case, right? Like that's all they have. Like they don't have anything else. It's not like she's ruling like outlandishly or anything like that. She just doesn't think you should rig the election for only Republicans to win. That's enough for them at this point. So yeah, that's the only reason I brought that story up. I just found that fascinating. Just in the wake of the DeSantis thing, right? Like he gets to draw them as, here this woman's like, yeah, I don't think we should do this. And Republicans are like, nah, fuck that. Get out of here. But that, like, they don't believe, unless they are winning absolutely, they think everything is bullshit. It's like, it's not worthy of keeping those systems, which is why they've already moved away from democracy, because democracy doesn't work for them to have total rule. Like
it doesn't work for them to have any rule, really. Like if we're being straight about like democracy, like they wouldn't, if things were even Steven, they wouldn't win jack shit.
No, they would not.
So,
all right, next story. I have not read this. So
this came through today, and it's been pretty quiet, which is quite shocking. That this hasn't really been like shouted from the rooftops more. So, in Oklahoma, the governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt, signed a bill into law today.
By the way, I've never seen this guy a day in my life. Like, just incidentally.
Well, you'll probably start seeing a lot of them soon.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because they signed a law that bans abortion outright in the state of Oklahoma by making it a felony to perform an abortion that's punishable by up to 10 years in prison currently. The only exception for an abortion to be performed legally without risk of felony charges is if it's to save the life of the mother. There is no heartbeat law. There's no like pregnant, term limit law or anything like that. The only reason is to save the life of the mother. Otherwise, you might go to jail if you perform a otherwise legal abortion in the state.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this will be challenged, but that's the point, right?
That is the entire point.
Again,
so, they're going for it. They're going for it. But again, I'm going to need people to own the fact that you didn't take this shit seriously in 2016. You got to own the fact that you didn't take it seriously. That you didn't think this was a big deal. I remember the whatever that jackass's name is from the Bad Faith podcast. She said, that we didn't. She deleted that tweet, right, saying that it's overblown that we're worried about the SCOTUS. It's overblown, as if Trump winning wouldn't directly affect the SCOTUS. Like, what do you mean it's overblown? Like, whatever case you think is relevant or not relevant, it's not overblown. It's 100% properly blown. And so, like, I just never politically, that just never made any sense. She was too busy being like anti to like really realize what she was saying, I guess. Or she could just be stupid. I mean, there's also a decent possibility. So yeah, but I think people need to really recognize that. Like, when you decided that this wasn't a big deal, that it didn't matter if it was Trump or Clinton, this was the inevitable outcome. Like, Trump got what, 2 or 3 seats on the Supreme Court? Yep.
Yeah. So
he got 3. He got 3.
3. Right. So it's just like, what did you think?
Two of which were legit. On top of that,
yeah,
like
right.
one of them obviously wasn't.
Yeah, it's just stole one. But because that one was held in limbo, of course he was going to steal that one. That was right for the taking. And then he put in two garbage bags as Supreme Court justices, who were both in their 50s. So, good.
And again, we've already seen kind of the ill effects of laws like this. There was the story that happened over the weekend where the woman in Texas was arrested because she had a stillborn birth that people thought that she basically did something to cause an abortion to happen on herself, and was literally arrested. And unfortunately, the Attorney General's office declined to prosecute. But this is the kind of shit that you're going to see with these bullshit laws, because again, abortions aren't going to stop. It's not like abortions didn't exist in the country until Roe versus Wade, and then magically abortions started happening everywhere. People were getting abortions. They were just a lot more dangerous because a lot of people weren't getting them through, medical means, proper medical means. So, I mean,
rich conservative women definitely were, though.
Well, it's the same bullshit as, making marijuana legal in the country. Well, marijuana is already legal if you're white. Like it's only making it legal for everyone else. That is what we're trying.
John Mulaney has a great joke about that. He's like, I got busted with a one hitter at a Rusted Roots concert. I didn't do hard time. It's always been legal for us. Yeah, like he's not wrong. Like it's absolutely
if like I said, if you're a middle class fucking white kid, you can get weed anywhere and do whatever. It's fine. At you. Yeah, it's not really a big fucking deal.
Look, the first place I ever saw people having weed wasn't a black kid. It was a white kid. I was like, really? It was like, yeah, dude. I was like, we're in middle school. Yeah. Well, my parents give me $50 a week in middle school. Wow, you're rich. And then they just go buy weed.
Well, and this kind of dovetails nicely into the next story. So one of the things that made a lot of news a couple months ago is Texas signing the law in that basically allowed called like parents giving therapies to their kids that are transsexual equated it to child abuse, and said that those had to be investigated. And so the knock-on effect of that, not only are you fucking trying to terrorize trans kids and their families in Texas and causing a lot of people to flee the state because of that shit, and understandably so.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in Texas's like social welfare offices that are in charge of performing these investigations are having a moral fucking panic about it. A lot of them are leaving the agency, and now you're shorthanded to investigate actual child abuse allegations because you're too busy investigating bullshit.
Right. Well, Brad, I mean, that's a shocking consequence from a party who really cares about child safety
and not only that, abuse, but always thinks through completely all of the laws that try to pass. They truly, Jay, don't just think about the immediate impact that they want to have. They think of all of the knock-on effects that will happen, as any responsible legislator would. As we said before, Republican Party, the party incapable of seeing past the tree that is 2 feet in front of their face.
Yeah, they spend so much time yelling and complaining about fictional problems, or not even, I won't say fictional problems. That's not true. Overblowing problems, right? Yeah. Like, everyone's a groomer. Everyone is is a pedophile and all this other stuff. They spend so much time yelling and screaming about these things, which are clearly not true. Obviously not. Yes, it's a problem. Like, it's not as widespread. It's like, that's nuts, right? Like, they spend so much time doing that they actually end up making holes in systems to allow for those kind of things to continue.
Yeah, we've seen that too with child trafficking, because like there are so many fucking Q nutters that are reporting bullshit, trafficking nonsense that again, there's only so many resources that these agencies have to perform these investigations. So when you are basically calling in false alarms, when you're crying wolf constantly, even if you don't realize you're crying wolf, you are actively harming actual situations that might actually be happening.
That's absolutely right. And it's sometimes I think maybe it's on purpose. Like I can't help but think that, considering how many of these people are desperately connected to the sexual abuse of young people and children specifically.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like, I don't want to be conspiratorial. I just want to, just look at it sort of objectively. And I think it's just mostly just smart. It's just right. I think it's mostly just general incompetence.
Yeah. I don't think they're smart enough for it to be some grandiose plan like that. Like that was always the thing about people like, like people that were wary of Trump that were just like, oh, he's trying to do this, and this. Like he's playing 40 chess. I'm like, he's an idiot. Like he's not that smart. Like he's like you're trying to it would hurt you to say, surely he can't be this dumb. There must be some benevolent reason that he's doing this thing. When in reality, no, he actually just is that stupid. Like that's literally
he doesn't understand things. Like just basic shit. He just doesn't understand. And it just so happens that it looks so malevolent because we're used like, and I blame TV slightly for this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, that idea of like the goofy villain, but also has like these like things that he's like really smart about. Like that's not, in reality, that's not how it is. Like generally people are who they present themselves to be. Right. Like,
well, we kind of had that with like George Bush. Like George Bush, we talked about a lot, is how he always portrayed himself as this like really, really, folksy all shucks, all like strategery, like that kind of bullshit. But he was a lot, he was a little bit craftier than he let on, and he was very aware that like that persona that he brought forward was intentional, because when you see that, you tend to kind of like let your guard down a little bit. So
yep, exactly. Now that doesn't mean he's not. I mean, he is kind of stupid. He's not as stupid as he portrayed himself to be.
Yes.
Right. Like. Yeah. But like.
But we about this Texas child welfare story. It's an article in the Texas Tribune. It's a pretty good article because they talked to a few folks that resigned from there. One of them was a trans man who was one of the people that was in charge of carrying these out, and he was like, I was actually kind of glad, that it was me that's doing this, because I figure like if I go into a house and they see a transsexual man coming in, like, I'll understand them a little bit. And he said one of the parents' lawyers, when he was in there, they told him, like, I know your intentions are good, but by walking in the door as a representative for the state, you're saying in a sense that you condone this and that you agree with it. And he was like, that kind of struck me. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Like by even participating in this, it's basically a form of implicit consent in a lot of ways. So, and so he left.
I mean, can you imagine?
No, I can't.
Can you imagine? That would be like me going, like being hired by the government, and then all of a sudden they change the role that I do, and it's just like going and like evicting poor black people out of their houses.
Yeah.
No, I'd be like, nah, yo, like, what does this job pay? Not enough. Like, just not enough. Like, I'm not like innocent poor black people just like, all right, time to get your shit out. Like, I just couldn't do that. Like, morally, I couldn't do that. And yeah, I get this guy's perspective. I totally understand. I'd be like,
well, like I said, the vast majority of us are very fortunate that we will never have to experience like a professional crisis of faith, essentially, in that way. So, but yeah.
So look, man, we are running headfirst into a scenario that I think is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
This country will split. We are. I don't know if it'll be via a gun type of scenario, or will it just be, we're done here, right? Like, and I hope that it's the latter. I truly, truly hope it is.
I think you're already kind of starting to see that, though. Like I feel like you're already starting to see the natural, like when you're actively oppressing a group of people.
I think people are tired, man.
People are just gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna, some people just don't have the energy to sit there and fight and protest and this sort of thing, and they're like, I'm just gonna move. Like, I'm just gonna move to a place that's more tolerant of me or my family.
But I think they should. Views. I think they should. Like there are parts of the United States that are fucking reasonable. There are. Like, look, America's not perfect by any means, but if you live in the South, you live in Texas, you live in Florida or any of these other places, and they're enacting these laws like, hey, transgender people aren't people and we got to like go after them, or you can't talk to kids that tell kids that gay people exist. Move. I know it ain't easy. I'm not pretending that it is or anything like that, but move.
Well, and that's the other thing is too, like talking about the Florida bill, you're going to get teachers that resign from this or get fired because of this. Do you really think that like you have better teachers just waiting in the wings, like ready to get tagged into the situation?
There's already a teacher crisis because of COVID. There's already a teacher crisis. Like, listen, the way that Republicans are conflating this law, this don't say gay law, versus what the reality is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, you know, we don't want, like, if you listen to Republicans, like Republican voters talk about this because they don't know shit. Shocking news. They talk about it as if they are this law is protecting kids from like in kindergarten to third grade, learning about like gay men like to fuck like this. Like, here's images. Have you seen Pornhub? It's awesome. Like, that's not what the law is. Like, it's not protecting them from that. Like, none of, and what I mean by that is like, no one is suggesting that. That's fucking nuts.
Right.
The law is that you can't mention that these people exist. And I heard the best argument, and it's an argument I've absolutely made in my mind, but this guy articulated, I thought, really well, which was, so you're going to say that you're not going to tell kindergarten to third graders that gay people exist. Okay. Because you don't want to talk about like sexual relationships. Are you going to tell them that straight people exist?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he said, like, he said that in this video, and he got all these comments that are like, well, I don't think they should be talking about any of that stuff to kindergarten and third grades. Keep in mind, it's not about people having sex. It's just that straight or gay people or trans people exist.
Right.
Exist.
So you can't talk about like the you know, the example that I saw, like when they were debating this in the Florida legislature, you can't mention if you have a wife.
Yeah, moms and dads.
Because that infers that, like, if you're a man and you're just like, oh, my wife, that you're inferring that you're straight.
And that's exactly what he said. He was like, when I was growing up, and this is absolutely true for everybody, when I was growing up, my first, second grade teacher was like, you know, I have, you know, this is my husband, this is my wife, like talking about their, talking about their spouse, right? Like, you're teaching lessons about moms and dads and relationships to kids.
Yeah.
We talk about straight is clearly the default because the vast majority of people in this country are straight. The vast majority of people in the world are straight. That's why there's too many people in the fucking world, right? We already know that. But there are gay people. There are people who fall under queer, right? Like that would be probably the best umbrella I can give. That they fall under that. Why are we pretending they don't exist? Hey, no one is asking you to teach your kid about like how people fuck. Like, no one's asked that. My daughter, who is not even 3 years old at this point, has a book called The Gay BCs, right? It's a lovely book. It goes through the alphabet and each letter is assigned. It deals with, you know, words in, you know, the sort of LGBTQ community, right? A is for ally, B is for bi, you know, that sort of thing, right? She has never asked, like, well, why is that? Like, explain to me the sexual situation, Dad. Like, She never does that. We go, yeah, some, you know, in this book, you know, this is talking about, you know, people who are gay. That's when a girl likes a girl or a boy likes a boy. And she's like, oh, okay. And
well,
it's like,
I mean, what it really boils down to
how to
is
be a fucking human being.
Yeah. What it really draws back to is the mistaken belief that, you know, Republicans seem to think, religious people seem to think that, you know, homosexuality, transsexuality, things of that nature is a choice. Like it's something that you choose to do. Like, and they think that if you plant the idea or plant the knowledge, like even the existence of the idea into the brain of a child, that they might one day choose to be gay or choose to be transsexual. When again, it's not really a choice.
No,
it's just kind of what you are or who you are.
I love that idea, right? I just love that idea. Well, if you tell somebody they are then they're definitely going to become that. Like, what? If you hang out with gay people, then you might be gay. Yes, like I hang out with a bunch of tall people, and I'm growing a foot every week.
Please show me the trans kid who's like, you know what? I've been having a pretty good life so far, but what I'm really lacking is just getting bullied and mocked and fucking misunderstood
like
by my peers. Yeah, like that's really what I'm looking for here. So let me go ahead and make this choice.
Yeah, it's like you're a teenager, right? Like a lot of people who realize that they're trans or, sort of have that revelation, or decide that I shouldn't. Some people have that revelation and some people have always had it and they're now ready to be public about it, right? I'm trying to be as sensitive to it as I can. A lot of that happens like in teen years, right? Yes, nothing is better than being an awkward teenager and then wanting to throw being gay or trans on top of that, because kids love to be pointed out and shunned at 14 years old. That's their favorite fucking thing ever.
Teenagers, notably the most understanding and welcoming class of people in all of society, let me tell you.
Absolutely. Incidentally, ironically, teens actually are better than their parents
today.
Teens
today are like that.
They are better.
Teens in our generation, not so much.
I was one of the said teens. Okay, like I'm not one of these people on the internet who pretends like I was perfect the entire time growing up. I mean, I'm perfect now. That's different, but not back then, obviously. But yeah, look, man, I saw this video today on like Reddit where this guy is like of course he's an anti-vaxxer too, of course, and he's like some like virulent fucking bigot, and he like goes around and he's like, I'm hunting gay people, and he's like goes into restaurants and be like, you see any queers around here or whatever. And I'm watching the video. He's white. Shocking news. I mean,
that was implied. You didn't have to specify.
Right. But it's for our fans. Thought I would leave that one out there. And I'm like, he goes to like a McDonald's or whatever and like asks the cashier, you seen any queers around here or whatever, fucking horseshit. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just go to like New York City with this bullshit and like see how well it rocks there? Like, I get it, you live in your like podunk town in the Midwest or whatever, where everybody, or in the South, where everybody that shares those same viewpoints. Well, go to a big city. Come on to a big city. Talk that shit. See what happens to you, dude. Like, you live in a very, very large,
very safe space. Yeah,
you do.
Safe space.
You talk talk that shit, man. Go ahead. Come on up to New York City. Come on to Baltimore. Talk that shit in certain parts of Baltimore. You like, okay, like going over to Charles Street, where all the transgender prostitutes are. You catch your ass an ass whooping, man. like, go ahead, talk that shit. So, like, I'm always amazed by the cowardice of bigotry. Like that is a universal thing. Like, there are very few bigots who are like, I'll say it to their face. No, you won't. Like, no, you won't, dude. No, you won't. Because you're scared. Like, you're going to say it to all your friends. Like,
and they don't do it because we've all seen those videos of, like, the fucking racist white people that'll, like, say the N-word to the face of a black person and then get fucking wrecked on a cell phone camera.
I mean, I'll just say it on the show. I mean, I could get off to that every day. I could watch a Nazi get beat up every day. Like, oh, well, I don't even need pants for this. Like, get the fuck out of here. One of my favorite clips of all time is like that clip of that Nazi talking to like a black dude. He was like, no, it's okay, because he was wearing a Nazi armband. He's like, no, it's okay. And like, he puts his hand out to the black guy, and the black guy just fucking decks him and knocks him out. And he says, I didn't hear a fucking word you said. Like, it's awesome. It's a great clip. It's awesome. It's phenomenal. Like, all right, dude. Like, we're not here to have a conversation. It's wonderful. I remember Andy posted that like on my page at one point on Facebook, and my father-in-law, he was like, he commented, he was like, I can't stop watching this, which is hilarious. And he's in his 80s. I was like, yeah, because he's a man of color too. Like, yo, fuck Nazis. I watch a young Nazi get knocked out every day for the rest of my life. In the words of Paul Mooney, it keeps my teeth white. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Next up, this I thought was funny, right? This is sort of as I wrote, this is like a lighthearted moment with a thread of truth. Because I think it's important to kind of understand, I know comedy is like a problem for a lot of people, right? But comedy does have a thread of truth in it, right? Some comedy does. So, prominent GOP pollster Frank Luntz said in a recent interview that Republicans in private are mocking former President Trump, and they are, quote, tired of going back and rehashing the 2020 election. That part, not surprising. Look, these guys are like, yeah, okay, let's fucking get Democrats. They tired of talking about that shit. Dude, you lost. Like, you lost. They just can't say the shit publicly. Makes all sense in the world. Luntz said that he was not surprised by comments made by New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, who is a Republican, that gained attention at the Gridiron Club's annual dinner. Now, this is like a roast, right? This is like a political roast kind of dinner. Sununu said, quote, talking about Trump, he's fucking crazy. I don't think he's so crazy that they could put him in a mental institution, he added, but I think if he were in one, he ain't getting out, which I thought was pretty great. So he says, look, Luntz says, I don't know a single Republican who was surprised by what Sununu said. He said what they were thinking. They won't say it in public, but behind his back, they think he's a child.
It's kind of
that's
been
what
like
makes
that,
it significant.
It was like that the whole time, though, that he was president.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, like I think it came up on I want to say it came up on Hayes the other night, where he was talking about the fact that if you're Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, like those guys that ran against him in the primary, and some of the shit they said, like when they were trash talking,
I think it's crazy.
Right. You don't just flip a switch on that just because the dude wins and it's like, oh, I was wrong the whole time. Like, no, you probably still believe it, but you just have to toe the line.
Yep.
I mean, and again, we saw glimpses of that on the 6th. Like Kevin McCarthy's calling this guy. Kevin McCarthy grows a spine for the first time in his life, and he's telling Trump to fucking do something. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is insane. And then like when confronted with that, he's like, I'm not going to talk about what I said to the president. That kind of thing. like he can't even stand by it, even though it was reported, that he said those things. So this isn't new. We're always going to get this because again, they fear him to some extent because they think that he still pulls the strings of a lot of Republican voters.
You think he does?
We're going to find out for sure in November, aren't we? Because we're going to see how a lot of his preferred candidates. Actually, sooner than that, because we're going to see how a lot of his preferred candidates perform in primaries, and then on to the general election for those that win in competitive states to see, does he actually still have stroke in that party with voters? We'll see. I know a lot of Republicans voters that would be just as well to just not have to deal with the fucking antics anymore.
I mean, that was always their thing. They liked the bullshit he did, but they were like, please stop tweeting. Like, I remember that was a large part of what they didn't like about him, which to me is just like, stop talking in public. Like, that's really what because like his tweets, while insane, were not that different than him talking. Like, it was equally just maddening and silly shit. So, okay. All right. I found that article to be interesting. But yeah, it has a significant kernel of truth to it.
And there's always, every political party is going to have spin, right? Like, you're always going to have people that are going out there and spinning the message. People that are in support of Donald Trump have to literally like go on TV and go on, the podcasts and stuff like that, and literally like defy reality. Like Devin Nunes was on Fox over the weekend talking about Truth Social, like the fledgling Trump social media network. And he's talking about like, oh yeah, like we have more engagement on our network than Facebook does right now, or than Twitter does right now. It's like they're not doing anything, and we're doing great. Meanwhile, like this thing, like this network is so fucking porous and so shitty. Trump won't even use it because he doesn't want to use it until it's proven to be a success,
his own thing.
So like he won't even post statuses on it because it's still like it's seen as a failure right now. So he doesn't want to associate himself with it if it's a failure. Devin Nunes left.
What is it called again?
Truth Social. Devin Nunes
left Congress for this.
Literally left Congress. Left a powerful co-chairmanship, or not co-chairmanship, but like minority chair. Could have been the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Left that voluntarily to head up this fucking business venture, which is fucking swirling the drain right now.
It's not going to do well. I mean, I'm not installing that shit on my phone. Fuck off. Like, no, absolutely not. And I don't recommend people do it to like troll. Like, don't give them subscribers. Don't give them subscribers. Please just don't. Let it die. Yeah. But yeah, of course it's not going to do well. It's going the same route as Trump steaks and Trump vodka. Vodka. This guy doesn't even drink. He doesn't even drink. He doesn't drink. That's why Trump vodka died. He doesn't tell the truth. That's why this will die. So yeah, it all makes sense. And he doesn't know how to eat a steak because he's a fucking child. So yeah, that all makes total sense. GOP candidates are becoming allergic to debates. Look, there was a while back that we talked about how the RNC was like, maybe our candidate doesn't do debates. And it was like, I think we know which candidate you're talking about. Yeah. But apparently that sort of thing has spread to the nuttier of the real nuts of the party. Herschel Walker, a guy who held a gun to his ex-wife's head and said, "I'll blow your fucking brains out," apparently, who Mitch McConnell can't stop endorsing. Why? We don't know.
He's a Georgia hero, Jay.
Okay. Congratulations. You carried a football and played a child's game. Wow, good job. You got brain damage for all your fans. So Herschel Walker was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do the whole talking and such in front of a crowd." Are you shocked by this?
Oh no, are you kidding me? Like I've caught glimpses of like TV hits that he's done on Fox and stuff like that. There's no way in hell this dude wants to be on a debate stage with anybody. Because as we've seen, the quickest way to expose someone as a fucking fraudulent politician is to put them up against an actual politician in a debate and watch them flounder. Again, Trump won 2016, but he got fucking pantsed by Hillary Clinton in every single one of those debates. And then again, like somehow was worse against Joe Biden. Like, I don't know how that's fucking possible.
Oh, he was 100% worse. He was
100%. But not only was he worse substantively, but like he got clowned on by Joe Biden constantly.
Dude, one of the greatest moments ever. Like, look, only Joe Biden could have pulled that, by the way.
Correct.
Only Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden is infamous for being for shooting from the hip and just saying some wild shit out of his mouth. So when he was like, "Man, would you shut up?" It was like, no, that seems about right for Joe Biden. Like, he could keep it tucked only for so long. Like, Obama could have never done that, right? It'd be like, no, this is uncouth or whatever. Joe Biden, they were like, yeah, that's about right. Like, I'm actually surprised.
Frankly, we're shocked it took a debate and a half to get here. So.
Right. I'm surprised he was that nice. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. God damn. Big Joey is speaking. This is malarkey. Like, I'm actually surprised it remained that fucking cool. But he's the only one who could have pulled it off because he had that reputation that he did. For the first time in his entire career, him shooting his mouth off actually worked to his advantage because he said the thing that everyone was thinking. Even Republicans, like, dude, shut up and let this guy speak. Like, fine, you don't agree with him, but let the guy speak. And it was like, and I like, it was like a national cathartic moment of like, thank you, Jesus. We've been saying it for 4 years. And it was like, and I truly believe he won a lot of people over for that one moment. Like he really did in that debate. Whatever he said substantively did not ring nearly as heavy as him telling him to shut up. It just didn't. Like, and it's, it's like Reagan, right? Nobody remembers that Reagan debate. Everybody remembers, oh, here he goes again, right? Like there's that line where everybody is like, you're fucking saying the same shit you've been saying, dude. And like, so no matter what you said after that, people didn't hear that shit. They just remember that fucking hit line. And look, it's like, does anybody remember what Bloomberg said? No, you just remember Elizabeth Warren carrying his
machine gun by Liz Warren.
Yeah. All you remember is Elizabeth Warren carrying his fucking severed head around in a JanSport bag. Like that's all you remember. So
no, but yeah, Herschel Walker being forced to take a position in a debate and be forced to like expound on that position. Absolutely not. Like watch Herschel Walker talk about anything. Like Herschel Walker tries to do the Trump thing where he takes like the context clue that he's given and tries to like guess as to what it's about and what he should say. But whereas Trump is a born fucking bullshitter and can at least string the sentence together to make it sound somewhat competent, even though it just devolves into repeating the same thing over and over again. Tremendous, like kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker just kind of goes like all over the fucking map with it.
Yeah, he's not bright because he's had his
and again, like again, we say that he's got like fucking CTE flippantly to mock him,
but he does.
But he probably does. In all honesty, the dude probably literally has brain damage from playing professional football.
Yeah. How the Republican Party, this is their guy. Like this is their lead guy. Like he's going to win
because he's black, Jay. That is the only reason why.
There's another black guy on the stage. Pick that guy. Pick that guy. There's actually there's multiple black guys.
Sorry,
like two
he's a famous black person. Does that narrow it down a little bit more? So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Because I don't know those other two black guys. But
again, like they're literally looking at that race and saying, oh, Georgian, like Raphael Warnock beat, this white woman. So clearly Georgians want to vote for a black guy. So let's find this black guy that we know. Hey, Herschel Walker, want to be in the Senate? Do I have to know anything? Absolutely not. You're a Republican. Like it's actually a detriment to be knowledgeable about this.
Yeah. Please don't read a book.
Just vote for what we tell you to vote for. Like that's all you got to do.
Yeah. I just don't, I don't know how long Republicans are going to be able to pull this. Like, is he not going to debate Raphael Warnock?
I doubt it.
Like, but did he watch the John Ossoff thing? But that happened with John Ossoff, where John Ossoff was like, cool, let me just get up here and just style on this dude for an entire 2 hours.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's contingent on the broadcasters of the debate, the people holding the debate, to punish them for not participating. Like, you don't want to participate, fine. Your opponent has a 2-hour forum to dunk all over you, and you don't get to defend yourself. Yep. Like he's going to be able to take all of our questions. He's going to be able to answer them and tell everyone about how his solution, his plan is way better than what you got going on because you believe in this, this, and this, and you don't get to refute any of it because you're not fucking here. And that's how you fix that. Right. Like, not do what NBC did. Or last year, right, when when Trump was like, "Oh, I'm not going to show up," and they're like, "All right, we're going to do a Biden town hall," and then NBC's like, "Well, we'll do a Trump interview, like programming against it." I'm like, "That's not what you do."
No,
it worked out
one
okay.
Of those, it did work out, luckily.
Yeah,
but what it should be is when you sign up for the debates, you sign up like there should be a rule. You sign up for the debates, and if you don't show in the contract or whatever that you sign, you're not allowed to do any TV appearances on that same time. In that same day. You're not. Like, as a competing time, you're not allowed to. Like, and I would say within a 12-hour block of time, right? To just completely make sure they don't trust some bullshit. I'd be like, if you don't show up to a debate, you cannot go to any other media outlet and broadcast. Otherwise, we will sue your ass. And for real money. Not bullshit money. Again, I think the debate should be a part, like that should be written into the actual rules of the election, right? I actually don't like that MSNBC or Fox or Facebook or any of these companies host this shit. It shouldn't be hosted by that. It should be, that shit should be publicly funded, and it takes place at like the White House or wherever. It should not take place in an arena. It shouldn't take place in front of a fucking huge audience. None of that shit. It should just be those two jackasses sitting in front of two podiums. That's it. Broadcast, answer the questions or don't. That's it. That's it. There's no fucking, I'm bringing Bill Clinton's accusers or whatever. None of that shit. All that like Hollywood nonsense. No, it's just the two of you debating.
Well,
right?
that was the refreshing part about the last election, is that since COVID, like the only benefit to COVID was that because we had that going on, we didn't have live crowds there, so you didn't have to worry about like, you know, politicians teeing up applause lines or you know, any of this bullshit. Like it was actually like, hey, let's fucking debate. You're not pandering to anybody in the audience, so just answer the fucking question.
Yep, that's it. Like I don't want to hear anything else. Like, I just don't want to hear anything else. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. Also skipping out on debates, apparently, is Tad Cadworth, because I guess he had a cocaine orgy that he had to go to.
I mean, look,
that
when you're on a bender, baby, like, what you gonna do? Like, this coke isn't gonna snort itself. Like, I got shit to do. Old Tad is in trouble. They're still mulling over whether or not he's going to get his ass straight tossed out of Congress. Which
there are 8 people running in that primary for that seat right now. Apparently.
Really?
Yeah, 8 Republicans specifically. Sorry, I should have been more specific there.
I'd love to see him get tossed.
It'd be great.
Look, are we past the hour mark?
Oh, we have to be at this point.
Oh, yeah, we're 101. All right, here we go. Let me say something really shitty. I want to see him get tossed out of this fucking out of office like that wheelchair kid in Mac and Me in that clip. Like that's what I want. I just don't need this guy in Congress. I think it is time for this guy to go. I think it is time to start clearing house on this Nutter caucus. I think it's over. Like, get this guy the fuck out of there. Just get this guy the fuck out of there.
And again, like we talked about last episode, 2 episodes ago. It was one of the two. I think it was 2 episodes ago. He's not serving the interest of what a politician or what a congressperson should do for his district. Like he's just not. Like he's just there to fucking own the libs. Like that's literally his only purpose is to raise his profile and own libs. It's all he wants.
I mean, who doesn't want to own the libs, Brad? Own the libs because you got nothing else happening. I mean, I guess what he'll do if he doesn't get elected, I guess he'll just go on another like Nazi tour, right? Like, hey, Hitler peed here once, or like, this is the part where Hitler tried to kill more Jews. I love that.
It's kind of a shame for him. It's kind of a shame for him that the timing didn't work out correctly, because I feel like that he would have been a really big asset on like the Le Pen campaign in France right now. Like it's a shame that's that he happens to be having a job to do while that's all going on.
Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.